Welcome to Fred Jones, session number 8. We're almost done. I am, just as a way of announcement, I got 2 announcements tonight. The first is I should have the link to the classroom this Friday so that you can go to USD and pay for your units. They are $75 a piece. So what's that, $225 for the class? 3 units, okay? And in the syllabus, we included a due date for your binder with all of the homework done. And so if you're behind on that, make sure you get caught up because most of you have induction presentations coming up, and I don't want the 2 to overlap because that would be a lot of work in a little bit of time. And we're all about trying to make your life easier, not harder, okay? So my suggestion is that you do not procrastinate, okay? Announcement number 2, if you haven't heard or didn't see the email, or if you did and you're kind of thinking about it, on Thursday, and it's a big deal, we are offering everyone from 2 years and under with experience in the county, including our district, the opportunity, and most of you will be Madera Unified, give them something to talk about, a seminar, and it's happening this Thursday, 4:30 to 7. There's a follow-up April. 4:30 to 7, April 20. There is no cost to attend. You can come for free. It's going to be learning about academic talk and how to raise your game. And I'm going to actually have another topic to talk about in a moment that will kind of segue into that. There is a unit offered, again, by USD. This is just 1 unit, so it's only 15 hours of work that you have to put in, and 5 of it will be here. 5 of it will be implementing it in your classroom, and then there'll be some research and writing. You'll write something and submit it via Google Classroom. 15 hours, easy peasy. Get a unit for $75. As an added bonus, I am told that the Madera Unified Teachers Association is buying dinner. So we'll have Togo sandwiches here for you, and I'll make sure that you have soda and water to drink. Our brand new superintendent will be here, as well as the organization that's helping the science department put this together. Their research staff will also be here, so it'll be a big deal. I think we're at 30. We have capacity for 60. So if you haven't signed up, I'd encourage you to do so. It's like one of those one-time only kind of things. In Madera Unified, you have $500 to spend on your PD. If you have not spent that, you can actually use that money to pay yourself to be here. Okay? So if you haven't gone to a PD yet, you can actually sign a timesheet and pay yourself out of your allowance and actually get cash. So if you've used it, no worries. You come for free. There's no charge except for the unit. And no PD money will not pay for your unit. Yes?
Is it the 20th or the 18th?
Did I write the wrong one? Yeah, I think you're right, 18.
Okay.
Whatever, it's a Thursday.
20th, but then
Is that
And it
correct?
says Thursday, March 16th, Tuesday, April 18th.
That's correct. Sorry, thank
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Thank you for hooking me up there.
yes.
All right. And, but we do need you to sign up via OMS, and if you don't know how to do that, contact Jessica and she'll help you out.
Is it, my MIC provider keeps telling me it just applies to science.
It's academic talk.
So it's just across all content areas?
So there's some science in there, but it's K-12 science. So what grade are you teaching?
Second.
It's in there. You'll want to come. So there's a science component in your curriculum, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's elementary and there's secondary, and they're going to even have breakout sessions. But it's the real, here's the issue. And some of you aren't even old enough to remember George Bush, the president, the second one. I'm teasing, but I know some of you were not alive when I voted for Ronald Reagan. So there you go. But Ron Bush said that, and he was the governor of Texas, and he went and took to the White House, and it was him that really instigated the No Child Left Behind, and his intention was right. How do we get kids to play up instead of play down? And what he said was that teachers made the mistake of discrimination to the lowest common denominator. The discrimination of the can'ts. And what he meant was we as teachers look at our students and say they can't do it. I know these kids, they can't. And so we lower our expectations instead of raising them because we already think they can't. And I think they can, okay? And I want you to be convinced that they can. And to raise your expectations as you go forward in your career. You'll be amazed that once you connect with a kid and then challenge them, they may not like it, but 10 years from now, when they come back, you'll be their favorite teacher because of the high expectations that you've had for them. This seminar will help you with that and help raise your game. All right. How are things going out there with Fred Jones? Who has had to do a walk in and walk out? Anyone? You gotta walk in and walk. How'd it go?
At first they thought I was joking. And then I just looked at them and they walked down, and then several students, like my really good students, were like, stop talking. She's asked you, or like, stop. We're not gonna go to the library. It was, we have to go to the library. I said, we won't go. We'll just stay in class, we won't go to the library.
And did it work? Nice. How is the spring weather affecting class behavior?
Oh.
It's a nightmare.
Yes.
It's all sudden that these kids with no energy have tons of energy, and they've got the spring fever already.
Except today.
All right. So except today?
Yes.
Because they were all tired.
I wish
today.
Mine were tired.
Right. There's a study that shows that work productivity falls off the chart the day after spring forward. More accidents happen because people are tired. There's more depression that goes on. So there's many that want to try to abolish this time-saving device permanently, but it seems etched in our culture now. Anyway. Spring break is late this year. Any of you have high school students?
Like, I have a daughter who's in high school.
You have a high school daughter, and you have sophomore, right? I found after spring break, my seniors especially didn't want to do a darn thing anymore. They had finally kind of, and then the state testing used to take in, and seniors got out of that, so they didn't have to come to school for a couple of days, and it was all whacked out. And boy, getting it, especially the closer you get to May, the worse it got. Spring fever kicks in. Now, did you know it's contagious? It is. And you're going to feel the same way. Yes. I think, let's see, out of the last 2 weeks I was here late 8 of the 9 days because we had a Friday off. And they're here. So this is 9 out of 10 tonight, and then I appear tomorrow night and Thursday night. And it's not physical. I mean, I'm not going to bed later because I'm getting home later. But there's just a mental issue going on in my head thinking, dang, I'd like to be home right now with my feet up and something cold to drink. Whew. I like Diet Pepsi. Videotaping. Diet Pepsi is my thing. Somebody asked, do you drink? I said, well, I have about 6 beers a year. I don't know. Can you classify that as drinking? I don't know. All right, let's get started. Today we're going to look at being proactive versus reactive. Until students experience limits, there are no limits. What do you think of that? Until students experience limits, there are no limits.
That's great.
Very true.
There was a time, I want to think who was president. This would have been 98. Clinton was in office and he got out, and Bush came in and they wanted to do away with the 65 mile an hour speed limit. Okay? When Nixon was president during the oil crisis, you want some history here, of the early 70s, they said we need to conserve energy. And so Nixon passed a law that rationed gasoline so that the prices didn't go crazy, and lowered the federal speed limit to 55 miles an hour. No matter where you were or what you drove, it was 55 miles an hour.
So it wasn't based off of safety for 55, it's just more on
Gas mileage. Because of the oil embargo of OPEC causing gas to go crazy, and then the government intervened and didn't allow the market to solve the problem. There was gas rationing and even based on your driver's, your license plate, told you if it ended in an even or an odd or whatever it was, that you had to go, you can get gas Monday and Wednesday, or you can get gas Tuesday and Thursday, and
Wow.
there were long lines, and it was insane.
Did people actually check your number?
Yeah, they did. And back, because part of, there was actually full serve, there wasn't anything called self-serve back then. Long lines, there were people fighting over things, gas stations would close for days because they didn't have, you should YouTube the 70 gas shortage. And then we still had an energy crisis when Carter came into office, so he told everybody to turn the thermostats down, and he wore this Mr. Rogers sweater, cardigan sweater in the White House, told us to conserve energy. At any rate, and I'm making a long story longer, in 1998, they changed the law and said we will allow the states to determine speed limits. Montana said, you know, before we had the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, we had the law that said you can go as fast as long as it's safe.
Wow.
Safe and prudent was the speed limit. And so in 1998, 99, Montana freeways allowed you to drive as fast as you thought was prudent. Now people were still getting tickets because it would be kind of dangerous to drive 85 miles an hour while the snow's falling down, you know. But they were having people from Mercedes come and film commercials, and there'd be 30 Mercedes going 90 miles an hour down I-25, and it was crazy, I-90. And it was fun driving 80 miles an hour legally and not feeling guilty about it. No limits. So then they were getting tickets for doing 85, and they were fighting them and being successful because that's what the law said. Eventually they changed it back, I think, to 75. The harder part was that there's a lot of wildlife. Y'all think that you hit a squirrel and that's a bad thing? Try hitting a moose. Yeah, at 70 miles an hour. So they had to reintroduce speed limits. If there are no limits in your class, if they don't experience a limit, there are no limits. You know what the hard part about this is? We all want to be nice, don't we? Yeah. We don't want the kid to feel any pain. Pain teaches you things, though, doesn't it? How many of you, when you were little, 2 years old, put your hand on the burner of the stove? Or the iron? Moms, that's hot! That's hot!
My daughter does that all the time.
We learned the limit, didn't we? We experienced the limit. Good. Students in your class cannot learn to manage time until they have time to manage. And so, Jones tells the story of his son. Remember the story? Where his son wanted to borrow some money to go to a party, and Dad said, I don't loan money, I'll give you money when it's your allowance time, but I don't loan money. But Dad, I have to buy potato chips and soda for the party on Friday night, and they're counting on me, and I don't have any money. And Dad said, well, what are you going to do? And I don't know, and so he felt the limit. And that's when he started managing his own money. He realized, hey, next time there's a party, I make sure that I have a little change saved up, and I'm ready to go. Do your students have the ability to manage time in your classroom? Then they're going to waste it. If they don't feel like they are responsible for the time, they're going to waste it. All right, let me ask a question, and I want you to share with your neighbor. What motivates you? Turn to your partner or people in your table group and answer the question. What motivates you?
Yeah, but things are like, what triggers you to get it done. I'm the same way. If I have a deadline, I usually wait until it's close to the deadline.
But my kids are, I'll do the work, but it should be most of the time. That's what it's,
Yeah, me too.
I think we could break motivation down into some broad categories, and then we'll see which ones our student fits into. One of them is the fear of failure. Okay? Many people are motivated by not wanting to fail, and so they do everything they have to do to make sure that that never comes to pass. The other is the fear, or the motivation of succeeding, of always wanting to be correct, of always wanting to be in a position of succeeding. How about control?
Yes.
Wanting to be in control, is that a motivating factor? Yes. It's a big one. How about being in power? Being in charge. Some of us, heck no, I'm motivated to follow whoever and do what they say and just follow behind. All right. Are you motivated or incentivized by your paycheck?
Of course.
To a degree. To a degree. Your job satisfaction really isn't based on how much money you make, but how much positive reinforcement you get. In this case, from your students or from those that are in authority over you. It could be from producing a product or accomplishing a task. But rarely is money the sole motivator, but it is certainly a motivator. For instance, you don't want to come late to work because you might get into what? Trouble. If you get into trouble too many times, guess what? You're no longer getting a paycheck. Okay? And so that is a motivator. Are there other incentives that are out there in the real world? One's coming up in April. April 15. Are you motivated to get those in on time?
Yeah.
Okay. You are incentivized. You're like, oh, I don't care. But are you motivated to turn them in on time, whether you like it or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a penalty for being late. You can file an extension, but you still have to deal with the IRS on that. So there is, you are motivated, you're incentivized. Okay. Is there a difference between being incentivized and being bribed?
Yeah, because you won't do it unless you're bribed. If you're continuously bribed, then you're gonna wait until that bribe arrives, until you do it.
Or if you're bribed, you're doing it out of fear almost.
Out of fear?
I wouldn't say you're,
Well, it depends on what the bribe is.
it's because you're gonna get something.
Okay, so you're 4 years old and I tell you I will give you a Jolly Rancher if you can make your bed before 10 o'clock. Is that a bribe or an incentive?
It's a bribe.
Do you get those kind of bribes or incentives?
Yeah.
Do you get, people still get them today, right? Okay. Some of them are larger, but still, hey, if you show up on time, there'll be a door prize, right? If you show up on time, we'll get you a meal. Okay. So, in the old school way of thinking, veteran teachers, even those that are retired would say, oh, the grade is all the motivation my student needs. Show of hands, how many think that 100% of your students are motivated by grades? How many think only 10% are motivated by grades? Few of you are going up, okay. Why? There's a few overachievers in your class, but are the rest really care about their grade?
No.
Not until when?
Progress reports come out.
Not until the actual grades come out, right? And what do when they realize that their grade is going to be less than what they had hoped for, and it's 2 days before grades are due?
They start asking what they can do.
Extra credit, can I make up these assignments, can I redo this test, right? And is that fair to you?
Nope.
No, where's your incentive for getting this? Come on now. All right, so there's got to be a happy medium, by the way, between getting it in on time and not waiting until 2 days before the grades are due, right? There's got to be some kind of happy medium. Are there deadlines that you have to meet or the whole world's gonna fall apart? I would suggest that there are actually very few, and most of the time you can be late, but there is a small penalty to pay. Okay? Let's talk about the tags on your car. They're due every year. You don't turn them in on time. You don't pay it on time. Does that mean the very next day they're gonna come confiscate your car?
No.
No.
But it's like your property taxes, you wanna pay those on time because you don't wanna pay penalties for it.
Ah, there is a cost to it, but your whole world didn't fall apart, right?
Unless your husband pays on it.
Mine's tied into my mortgage, equity, whatever, and then I just pay it and it's done, I don't worry about it, so. And, my mortgage is automatically withdrawn out of my check on the same day that I get paid, so I'm, okay, it's all good, and I never worry about it. How come I only have so, oh yeah. Alright, what if you're late to a doctor's appointment by 15 minutes?
Well, they'll sometimes cancel it and charge you.
Yes.
Some doctor's offices, 15 minutes is too late. Others are, well, we were gonna make you wait an hour anyway, so go ahead and have a seat. Right? Okay, if you blow the appointment, does that mean you can never see the doctor again?
No.
Is there a price to be paid? Yeah, this is a harder one because it could be as much as $100 and it's not covered by insurance. That's out of pocket, baby, come on now. Alright, if you're late to work, are you fired? You have an emergency and you didn't even do sub plans and you have to have a sub today because you woke up and as you were going out the door, your 4-year-old had it coming out of both ends and you didn't prepare for a sub. Is that the end of the world? Might there be a price to be paid? You might get chewed out for that, right? But it only happens once, not the end of the world. Alright, so there's gotta be, everyone tells me back in the day, oh, this is real life. Kids need to turn their things in on time, that's the end of that. Is that fair? Is that real life?
No.
No. Alright, but on the other hand, waiting until 2 days before report cards are due in June and the kid's not gonna graduate high school because he flunked Spanish? Can I do 40 projects over the weekend and get them done? No, that's not fair to the teacher either. So it has to, you're gonna have to set a policy, and I know there's some board decisions and sites decisions, but I think there's a happy medium in there some. However, we can, and I want to use the word, incentivize our students to be responsible in class by giving them time to manage. Fred Jones says if you don't have time to manage, you will not manage, or you will not learn how to manage your time, just like with your money, okay? If you're never really in charge of your money growing up, and every time you needed something, you just had to ask mom or dad, and I know you girls, Dad, my daughter does it to me, my heart just bleeds all over the place, okay? Right? Girls have no idea how much power they have over their dads. Oh, man. It's insane. Sorry guys, man, you guys are, whatever, that's what Dad always says. Alright, if you never had money to manage and mom and dad just gave it to you, and then as you kind of grew up, was there a come into Jesus moment where you realized, I don't know how to do this? Bounce check, PG&E turned off, late car payment, right? Instead of the parent that made the child responsible for their money, I mean, you can overdo it too, but you don't know how to manage it to tell you how to manage. So we're going to look at that today. We're going to move omission training to next week. Okay. What do we ask kids to do the first 2 minutes of class? Talk to your partner. What do you ask your kids to do the first 2 minutes of class? Okay. You want And PE off. Man, just get dressed out. You got 10 minutes, come on. Okay. First 2 minutes in class, what are you asking me to do?
Grab their chairs, sit down, maybe pull out their supplies.
Okay, good. What else? How many of you warm up? Does that work for you at the high school?
Yes.
So you're doing geometry, right? And how and so is it? What is the purpose of that warm up?
Can I call some in, take other stuff, get working on, get them to start digging in the math. Yeah.
So it's review,
Review or just simple math and subtract. So
just
for
to
X,
get them thinking about math. Good. Does it have a calming effect on them?
that's something
Yeah.
when it's something to do with.
And whatever you ask, does that require cooperation? How much cooperation?
100%.
100%. Check it out, write it down. Your goal is 100% cooperation 100% of the time. 100% cooperation 100% of the time. That's what it means by how often, how many students. What are the barriers to getting cooperating kids? By the way, parents, 50% of them are below average.
I think consistency.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't expect it consistently, then they're not gonna
Take it seriously.
take it seriously. And if you're doing it every day, then it's just gonna come natural to them.
All right, so you're saying that consistency starts with you, the teacher, before you can expect it from the students.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got to learn what the routine or pattern is so that they know what they need to.
Right? Have you ever heard somebody say, "Oh, so and so, she is so tough. She makes us."
Do work.
And you're thinking, how did you get all those little ones to do that? Right? How did you get junior high kids to sit? How do you get sophomore geometry students to sit down and be quiet? I'm small in stature with a soft voice, right? But parents aren't consistent at home, right?
No.
Does the word no mean the same to everybody?
No. It can mean no, I'm not in the mood to tell you yes right now, or it could be no.
Or it's no right now, but if you ask me 10
Yeah.
more times, it'll turn to a yes.
Yeah.
To be made. Just to get you out.
Or it could mean go ask your dad. Does right now mean right now to everybody?
No.
Everybody get out your books. Doesn't mean the same to everybody, does it? Alright, so your words, if we go back to the beginning of our Fred Jones strategy, learning to be in business, your words have to mean what they say, okay? And so, if you're expecting a student to do something, but don't follow through, you've made a reinforcement error. Which means what? Do they know what the limits are?
They do, but they have set them.
What happens if they're different every day?
I think you can get away with it.
Or they might know if I push her to this point,
Mhm.
then.
When the coach's voice come out then, right? Sometimes my stepchildren at home don't do what they're told until exasperation appears on mom's face. And they say, oh, I guess she was serious this time, we better get done. And I remember about a year ago, my wife tells my stepson it's time to go to bed. She told him 3 times. I looked at him. He didn't move. I said, 1! But I didn't have to say 2. And I wasn't really yelling. It was just my, I'm in charge now and I'm going to make this happen. And if I get to 3, you don't know what's going to happen, but it's not going to be pleasant. I used to tell my little boy, Joshua, if you don't do it, something's going to happen to you that ought not happen to 7-year-old boys. He and I didn't know what that meant, but whatever it was scary enough to get moving. All right, and so in talking about setting limits and being consistent and realizing that we have to be consistent, that's tough, isn't it? Because you want to be the teacher everyone likes. I get it. I was there. You want to be the nice teacher that high fives everybody, that has the secret handshake. Remember that one with the 30 students? And going into the class, and that can crack jokes and everybody has a great time. I get it. You want to be liked by your students.
But you can be if you set.
I think that the goal ought to be I want to be respected by my students. and like will come later.
Yeah.
Okay? First thing we need to have is like, and there's some tough teachers on your campus, right? But and they're respected, but not liked at first. But later on they are. I even hear the same thing about administrators. Oh, I don't like that administrator. Why? Oh, if you get in trouble, it's horrible. Oh, don't get into trouble. Right? Okay, so we need to be consistent. And the point I keep trying to make is this. You've had enough days now to know if this is true or not. Have you been tired or grumpy or at the end of 3 weeks with no holiday and you're done? How much capacity do you have left? Are you more strict or less strict when that happens? A lot more strict. It's human nature, right? And then you come in and now it's Tuesday after a holiday and things are good. And are you more strict or less strict? Are you being consistent?
No.
So what do the kids think?
I think it depends on your mood, on your, how many vacations you've had.
Students can't, until students experience limits, there are no limits. And if your limits are all over the place, then they're going to be confused
And they're gonna be all over the place.
and continually trying to find the limit. There was a study done with infants in which they put them on a floor without walls, and they were upset until the experimenters put walls in the room. I think there was a cliff or something over a glass, and they couldn't find the edge of the wall. And once they found the edge, there was a soothingness to it. I know what the expectations are. I know where the limits are. There's something inside of us that wants and craves limits. Haven't you heard of your friends when you're going to school where their parents let them do everything? And your parents were like, oh heck no, you're going to bed at 7:30 because it's not, but it's still light. I don't give a rip. It's 7:30, you're going to bed, right? And they were hard on you. Which one communicated love more?
Ones that set limits.
I used to say that my love language is making sure that you have strict boundaries. If I didn't care about you, I wouldn't discipline you. I used to tell my students the same thing. I didn't care, I'd let you do whatever, but I do care, so you're gonna do this. Right? Alright. Barriers are inconsistently from the teachers and from even our parents and the upbringing and having to train our students. We're going to learn about why should I and the time management of time. Why should we provide incentives? What does the book say about incentives? Y'all ready? Yes?
Yes. Right. I think that incentives are an end purpose, and they give them, it doesn't necessarily have to be something tangible, it just gives them, like you said, a boundary. Or it gives them something to work towards.
It primes the pump, so to speak. And in the beginning of the year, we can have a lot of incentives, and then we can start taking those back as we train our students. Pretty soon they don't even realize that you're not giving them a sticker because they showed up. Now they're getting a sticker because they showed up, did their homework, and put their pencils away. Right? Good. And it's not a bribe. We live in an incentivized world. Right? Why do your husbands bring Valentine's Day flowers to you on Valentine's Day? Are they not incentivized? And are you not going to reward them? Right? Stores give you coupons. Okay? If I had you're incentivized to come to the seminar I talked about on Thursday, simply because I'm going to offer you a unit for $75. Like, I don't care what it is, but for $75, I can move on the pay scale. I get one. I'm incentivized. Let's go. And I will tell you that when we designed this course, I said we've got to incentivize our new teachers to get here because it's on their own time. We can't pay them; it's too expensive. We'd love to give you $30 a piece, but per hour, but we can't. It's just too much. But we can offer the unit, and that was easy to do. We wanted to incentivize and feed you something. All right. What are students good at doing? Larry talks about, Fred Jones talks about Larry, who, a gifted
Sharpening
athlete.
the pencil, just.
A gifted athlete that wants to get up and sharpen his pencil. Remember, this kid can win every state quarter-mile track meet around, but when it's coming time to sharpen the pencil, he does sloppy work on his math, but when he sharpens the pencil, it's to NASA specifications.
Yeah, there it is.
I had a kid throw me one in the fourth grade. I still have a lead mark on my hand. It's stuck in my ear. Oh. I still have a little tattoo. Why is it? What does the kids want to do most of all?
Waste time.
Anything but what?
But do work.
My fifth grader comes home and tells me, I hate math. Why? It's boring. Golly, how come? What is it about math that at a certain age it becomes uninteresting? Except
When
for
you
a
have
few
to think.
students.
Fail to see how it's gonna apply or help them.
My wife says she hates history. Why? You know why? Because it required a lot of reading. All right. Me? I love it. Give me more of it. I watch videos on all that stuff. Maybe I'm weird, but what is it that kids want to do when they're bored?
Waste time.
They're going to entertain themselves. Okay, so let's talk about that for a moment. What about the kid that has a hard time reading? How many of you have encountered kids that are struggling with reading? I don't know. What do kids that are doing that are behind in their reading? Why?
Because they can't do theirs.
Part of it is that they're entertaining themselves, and part of it is it's a way of covering up the fact that it's universal at all grade levels. It's crazy how many kids who can't read are messing around. What else? What about the gifted kid that's got the assignment done in 5 minutes and everyone else takes 30? What is a bored gifted kid going to do in your class? Goof around. My daughter came home with this revelation. My daughter's 16 in April. Goes to Liberty High School, and she is if I got this right, the historian for FFA, and involved in it's all the officer, things like that. She told me the plate, and the girl that likes Gaston in Beauty and the Beast, and they have a musical coming up. She decided as a freshman that she was going to learn how to play trumpet because she found out that if you're in the marching band at Liberty High School, you don't have to be in PE. I am a biased dad, but I will tell you the honest truth. My daughter can sing. I don't know where she got it from. She's in a choir this year, and part of that. And thinks that the busier that she is, the better she manages her time, the better her grades. And she said to me the other day, Dad, we need to make kids more active because then maybe they'd stop messing around, sleeping around, and getting drugs and alcohol. I don't have time for any of that. No boyfriend, actually, no boyfriend. Yes!
It worked.
Whew, that girl, I mean, she's got to swat them away. There, it's all over her. We see kids wasting all kind of time. Admit it. When you have a lot of free time and you have one thing to do, does it get done? You had 7 things to do and no free time. Do all 7 things get done?
Yep.
Think about your lesson plans for a moment. I know it's kind of off topic of what we're going to talk about today, but think about your lesson plans for a moment. All right. Do you have free time at the end of your lesson? Do you have study time? Do you have a sustained silent reading time if you finished everything? Do you have fun Fridays where you're wasting time? Do you have all those things going on? And what happens as you allow these kids to have free time? What happens in your class when free time comes?
Well, in order to get the free time, stuff gets done.
But when you get to free time, what happens?
Chaos.
Chaos.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? All right. Now let me be blunt for a moment. At least in Madera Unified, test scores are up or down compared to state average?
Yeah.
Down. Are they mildly down or significantly down?
Significantly down.
How do we have any time to waste? Superintendent's going to be here Thursday night. One of the things I'm going to ask you is, why do we allow elementary schools to waste the entire last week of school? The entire last week is wasted. We got the water slides out there on Friday. We're going to the water park. We're cleaning our desk with shaving cream. We're tearing down all the posters. We're pulling staples out of the carpet. We're putting all of our books away. Books are turned in the Friday before the last week of school. What the heck? Because the librarian wants to get caught up, or what? I don't understand. How is it as a district our scores are significantly below average, but we have a whole week of school to waste at the end of the year? And by the way, how many days do we waste at the beginning of the year?
2 weeks.
And then we have Christmas holidays, and we have Thanksgiving holiday, and we have, I just got back from Christmas break holiday. And it's spring break. We waste a lot of time. In addition to students wasting time. We need to up it. We need to raise the expectation, not lower it. And when you allow kids to have free, what is it, the idle hands of the devil's playground? Is that the same? Idle hands of the devil's playground. What happens when you have mom and dad? Have you ever been in the house and you're kind of busy and all of a sudden you realize that your son, the 6-year-old, has been really quiet for the last hour? My nephew, my sister-in-law posted it on online Facebook and said that in 15 minutes out of spare parts he found in his room, he was able to make a trebuchet, but it takes him 45 minutes to do 5 math problems. All right, we need to figure out how to give students an allowance of time, and it's called PAT. In your table groups, discuss what does it mean to give an allowance of time. And I know that the page numbers are off because it's in my book and not your online book. You have the right book, and it's in those pages. If you need to look it up, look it up. But with your table group, discuss what does it mean to give an allowance of time, and what is the allotment time for your grade. See if you can find it. And I don't know what it would be online. I can tell you that it would be in chapter 17. 16.
Oh no, that's
2:30 a day. That's too much. 3 Tuesdays. Okay. You're like, we don't have that.
fourth period.
Alright guys, let me have your attention. Alright. Fred Jones says that we need to gain more instructional minutes in our class, and that's what I've been talking about the whole time, is how do we raise the roof, so to speak, for expectations on our academics in the classroom. Well, if we had more time to teach, we would expect better student outcomes, yes or no? Fred Jones says that you can do two things to gain more instructional minutes in your classroom. Number one, start on time. Okay? And so in high school, and you go south, right? I don't know how many times I saw boyfriend is way over here by the attic, smooching on this girl. The tardy bell rings and she goes in class, and now he's got to go clear across campus to get to the 400 building. Is he going to make it on time? No. Alright, so he's late, and when a student comes in late, does it disrupt the class?
Yes.
Especially if they want to be a disruptive presence, right? Hey, I'm here, woohoo! You got kids like that, even in kindergarten. Okay. Never mind, no, why are you late? Okay. And the second thing you can do to gain more instructional minutes, he says, is hustle. Hustle. So if you have transitions in your class, because you're all doing activities, different activities at every grade level, correct? How much time is lost in transitions from ELA to math? Or from getting dressed out to lining up, from getting lined up to onto the field, getting lined up on the field to get in the equipment. All these are transitions, and we're losing minutes, correct? Okay. Band class. All right, get your instruments out. Oh, I forgot mine. It's in the locker room. Come on now, we need the tuba. Let's go. All right. Two things he said is that if we start on time and hustle, we can gain additional instructional time during the day by eliminating the traditional forms of foolishness, such as showing up without pencils and sharpening pencils during class. All right. So the third leg of that is being prepared. We have to train our kids, and this is where some of the incentive comes in. Got your pencils out, got your book out, got your whatever you want them to have, ready to go when you're ready to go. Okay. How do we do that? We give them preferred activity time built into your schedule to help kids be incentivized to follow the directions. We talked about this before, but now we're going to go dig deep. So we talked about PAT and bonus PAT. PAT is what primes the pump. You know that there's going to be a preferred activity time. Okay? And you know already how many times a week or day you're going to do it and how many minutes that's going to be. To get it to give the responsibility to the student, we want to give them, are you getting cold?
I have a sweater.
Okay, we're going to vent that.
I didn't realize I was getting cold.
We were doing this, so you know. The bonus PAT is, if everybody's here on time, we get a minute of bonus PAT. If we can do this transition in 2 minutes, I'll give you a minute of bonus PAT. If it takes more than that, we'll subtract. All right. Remember the concept we talked about? This is months ago now. We said you add minutes and subtract what?
Seconds.
Add minutes and subtract seconds. By the way, I also told you don't give this to your substitute teacher because all they will do is take time away, and then you're messed up. Okay. What were the times? It said in kindergarten, students usually have to get up and move every 15 or 20 minutes, and the level of impulse control is nothing to write home about. Consequently, a kindergarten teacher may want to have PAT every 15 or 20 minutes. Now notice this. The notion of having PAT that often would be overwhelming if PAT required much planning and effort. Fred Jones knows that we're all lazy. I'm in the same boat. I'm lazy too. It is apparent from the outset that PAT must be cheap and easy for the teacher to implement. Okay? First grade. To be conservative, you probably want to start the first grade year with 3 PATs in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. However, by mid-year, most first grade classes only need 3 a day, morning, into morning, and afternoon. Do not attempt to get by with only one in the morning before lunch, or you will find that the students lose it after 10:30. Second and third grades. At sometime during the second or third grade, most classes can go to 2 PATs a day, one before lunch and one at the end of the day. Fading the schedule of PATs, however, is always a judgment call. You can tell if you have been premature in thinning the schedule if you find that the students are losing it during the hour prior to PAT. Fourth and fifth grades, at some point during fourth and fifth grade, most classes can go to a single PAT at the end of the day. While PATs become less frequent as the students mature, it would be inaccurate to think that we are attempting to reduce the amount of PAT. As PATs become less frequent, they become longer. A first grade teacher might set aside 10 minutes for each PAT 3 times a day. A fifth grade teacher might set aside 20 or 30 minutes for a single PAT at the end of the day. Middle and high school. While sixth grade often remains the same pattern as fifth grade, sometime before high school, most classrooms go to 1 PAT per week. As an interim pattern, teachers may have PAT twice a week on Wednesday and Fridays. An alternate pattern is departmentalized setting is to have 5 or 10 minutes of PAT at the end of each class. As such, it is a typical and integral part of that day's lesson. Often students play a learning game to review what was just taught.
How do you justify to your administrator when they come in and you're doing PAT at the end of the day?
It's always tied to standards. Always tied to standards. It's always academic.
Well, because like on Fridays, we'll do math centers, and I purposely do that because it's tied to math, and they still don't like it.
In Madera High School, I had a next door neighbor who loved to play Jeopardy as a way of reviewing for the test. That's a PAT. And if we're talking about Common Core and having to think and defend our answers, there's a game called Snowball in which you can write a question and you have a snowball fight and you stop and you pick it up and you have to answer the question and then maybe you defend that answer with facts. Using the Chromebooks in a way that is a PAT. It's still tied to academic standards. I know we have 20 minutes, but we're going to give 30 if we can get more and do that project a little bit longer. In elementary school, it's the sciences and the arts, especially when we talk about doing experiments.
I use Quizlet Live.
You what?
Quizlet Live.
Quizlet Live?
Quizlet Live.
Quizlet Live.
For like figurative language and stuff like that. And so it's really cool because they type in their names and then the computer just randomizes a group. And they have to work as a group and only one person has the answer. So if someone selects the wrong answer, they go back to 0. And so they have to really work together to.
There's a bank of these online, and we're going to look at that in a moment. And actually, you're going to have a homework assignment to find some PATs that work. Quizlet Live sounds like fun. I had an old school game called baseball. And I simply drew a diamond, and I made them into 2 teams, and I had ways of organizing my room. So I literally had 2 lines, and they would rotate as they were up to bat. And as they were at bat, they would get the chance to say a single, double, triple, or home run, which meant easy, a little harder, medium hard, and oh my goodness, I don't think so. Okay? And if they got it wrong, they were out. No foul balls, no strikes. You either got a hit or you were out. And so I'd have all these made-up questions ahead of time, and usually I could think of them in my head, and so we could spend 20 minutes playing parts of speech baseball, or find the noun in this sentence, or make how many commas are needed in this sentence, or whatever, and go from there. In the story that we just read, tell me about Phileas Fogg's character. Why is he eccentric? What does that mean? Okay, and so these would be questions that we could ask, and then keep score, and then at the end, I don't know, what do we get, Mr. T? Because they're juniors and seniors. Applause. But they live for that kind of stuff because it takes them out of the routine and the ordinary of the day. Okay? The PAT must be tied to your academic standards. I am not talking about, okay, we get to watch 20 minutes of Star Wars. Not acceptable. Unless it's tied to your standards and you're talking about conflict or setting or characterization or plot. Now there's a worksheet. Now there's a writing assignment that goes with it. So instead of reading the script, I'm watching it, but I'm still responding to it. So in my English class, we watched A Knight's Tale, and we watched, believe it or not, The Goonies. Okay, but we had a ton of work to do that went with it, tied to standards that related to what we were trying to do in class. And then we made other assignments that went with it. We started working on having them write their own creative story. But they had to use these literary devices in their story. Okay, so I want to hear onomatopoeia in your story. What is that? Oh, heck no, you know what that is. Right? Okay. The precondition, PAT, does not change behavior. I want you to understand that. PAT does not change behavior. Bonus PAT changes behavior. Hear the difference? Just having a fun activity isn't going to change them. And here's where we're talking about being consistent and saying the same thing at the same time. We can use this and start nagging again. All right, class, if we don't do this, then we don't get to go to the library. One more time, and that's it, no library. I don't want to have to say it again. This is the fourth time, right? What have I just done, by the way, if I've said it 4 times? Am I being consistent?
No.
I want to go to the library, so I'm not going to threaten not going to the library as a punishment, because I have to mean it. All right, class, we're going to lose 2 minutes out of library time if we don't. Right now, I can lose 2 minutes. I don't care about that. Bonus P18 changes behavior. Table talk about the 2 PAT types and discuss what each does.
And so that gets added to the time, maybe like
Yeah,
extra minutes to get their materials out and then do it in a minute task, and they get 30 seconds extra added on to their original.
Okay.
You never take them away.
What are some examples in the book of bonus PAT?
If they finish, like, if you're having them play beat the clock to get out their materials, and they do it 30 seconds earlier than the timer goes off, then you add that to their PAT, and so they get an additional 30 seconds, and you never take that away because they earned it. And so it's an incentive for them to piggyback their extra minutes or seconds even.
It's called a hurry up bonus according to, but the same idea,
Yes.
beat the clock, hurry up bonus. Coaches, y'all ever yell at your kids to what is the word you use out there when you want them to run the laps so you can get to the drills? You're coaching a sport, not PE. When you're coaching a sport, they gotta do their warm-ups before we can do whatever it is you wanna do. What do you yell? I can hear my coaches yelling every day, let's hustle out there, let's get go, right? Do you guys do that? Do you hustle them up?
I say you got 30 seconds to get around this lap, here we go again.
Right?
Get over here.
Let's go, hustle!
Yeah.
All right. How many of you, when you were kids, mom and dad said, if you can brush your teeth and get your pajamas on by 8 o'clock, I will read you a story. Is that a hurry up bonus? Did your parent incentivize you? My mom didn't do that. Oh, sorry. All right. What else did he say? Automatic bonuses would be what?
Automatically? Oh.
If everybody's here on time and there's no tardies, right, in high school, if If everybody's here to second period on time, you get a bonus minute. But everybody has to be, and then you have to define what that means, right? Especially in high school. Okay? But you always have the kid that's crossing the threshold as the bell's ringing. On time! The hard part is that on time means different things to different teachers. Correct? And I could even hear my own children say, I am never late to second period because Mr. Whoever does not allow us to be out of our seat when the bell rings or we are tardy. If I'm not sitting down, and then we can take it further. If I'm not sitting down with my math book open and my pencil out with my homework, I am tardy. Okay? And so at the high school, it's really hard because we don't have teachers that are being consistent across. We don't have a single policy that everyone can agree to. But in elementary, y'all control it, correct? Now you understand that parents sometimes control when your kids get there, and it's not always the kids' fault. All right. So let's work around at 8 o'clock or at 7:50 bell. But after that, can kids get on time and do their thing? Can that be an automatic bonus? Yes. What else could be automatic?
Having material though.
Having my pencil. How many of you are irritated that your kids can't find a writing mistake every day? It was the same kid
Or like
every
they had it
day.
in the morning, but then they don't have it an hour later.
I have one like that.
Okay?
Every hour.
Now, watch what happens when you make it the student's responsibility to have it. The whole class benefits if they do, and Charlie doesn't have, or Larry, as the book says, doesn't have his pencil. Does he ask the teacher?
No.
Why?
Because I'm not going to provide it for.
I'm not going to give what? My bonus. But now he starts, Charlie or Larry, he starts asking, I need a pencil, I need a pencil, I need a pencil. And all of a sudden the students start making sure that everybody has a pencil. Okay? Is that an incentivized behavior that you can work with? Good. What else? Did y'all read?
It said right place, right time.
I couldn't read.
Right place, right time, right stuff.
Right place, right time. Good. How about contests? Alright, so now the day is over. In our politically correct time, we probably can't have boys versus girls anymore. But we can certainly have in high school second period against third period against fourth period, right? Can you have contests in your class based on groups?
Mm-hmm.
Do kids love to compete?
Yes.
Heck yeah. Alright? So that's an option. If we can beat last week's spelling score average by 2 points, we can get another bonus PAT. Right? Alright, what else?
Cutoff points.
Cutoff points, what is that?
Can earn extra minutes of PAT.
So if you have cutoff points, as it says in this page, the idea is if I'm not in first place, I'm not getting anything. I know our team always comes in third, therefore I'm not going to what?
Try.
I'm not going to try. But if I have bonus points based on,
If I have 5 bonus minutes, then I get 45 minutes of PAT.
right, that you get a little something for a little effort. And then I might get a little more effort next week to see if I can raise the game up a little more. So in other words, everybody wins. It's just not everybody wins the same amount. Cutoff points. Okay. I think if you start thinking about what else I can do to give bonus, automatic, PAT, it'll start changing behavior. Now here's the key. And here's why I told you now, and you're all thinking, why didn't I have this at the beginning of the year? I did it deliberately. I really did. Here's the tendency, and especially when we had 50 in the room. The tendency is for y'all to grab this and to use it because it works. But if this is the only thing that you're using, it will only work for a while. Why? Because you're going to get tired of it, and the kids will get tired of it if you overuse it. The idea is that you start with it a lot in the beginning of the year, and you begin to kind of fade it out over time. It kind of goes away. Not completely, but but you're less dependent upon it. It does change behavior. And if this is the only thing you've got, it'll work for a while, but after a while it'll stop. You'll cherry pick it. And then what I saw in my data was when teachers were cherry picking this and it didn't work, and so therefore they threw the whole thing away. Ay, ay, ay. And now you've gone through almost the whole course and you realize, most of this stuff works. All I have to do is look at a kid with my I'm not amused face and be quiet now. Or I walk in, or I don't sit and yammer with my students with praise, prompt, and leads, but I just use that VIP and say 1 through 4 is great. Review step 5 and I'll come back in a minute. And I'm increasing my instructional minutes. You're finding that it works. It's a layered system. I think this is the icing on the cake versus the foundation. If we built our foundation on this, then we would be in trouble right now. Okay? It takes planning. So you have to think of PATs that work for you, that are cheap and easy. So let's look at that real quick. Okay, in the PAT bank, so it's fredjones.com/pat-bank. And if you just Google Fred Jones PAT, this is what I came up with. Here you see the ones that Fred Jones has come up with. 18 of them. You can click on them, look at it, see if it works. And more than I can count that are submitted by teachers out in the field that are using it. Okay? A whole bunch of them. And the idea is that it's quick and easy. It doesn't create a lot of prep on your part. It has to be cheap, or guess what? You won't use it. I remember when PowerPoint came out, boy, this was awesome, but it would take like 2 hours to make a 20-minute little whoopity-whoop. I did that a couple of times, like, oh heck no, I gotta do this every day? I don't have that much time. It's gotta be cheap and easy. So here's the PAT bank, alright? Review real quick. Here's the layered system that Fred Jones tells us about. Classroom structure is about what? Remember how we had rows in here? It was hard to walk? Now I can flow. If I needed to, I can walk the room. Limit setting was what? Y'all tired? Learning to mean business and regal look. Remember we practiced that last time? Y'all felt like kind of foolish for doing, but we did it. Now we're at responsibility training. What's the backup system? Sending it into the office. Is that expensive or cheap? It's expensive for everybody. Okay. You can also teach responsibility about pencil sharpening, hall passes, bathroom pass. Hey, we can all get a bonus PAT minute or 2 if no one has to use the bathroom after lunch today. Homework. Can you give this as a prize? Especially if homework is only 10% of the grade, can you give a homework pass as a raffle ticket? Huge. Alright, we talked about that. We're going to talk about that next time. What I wanted to see was the homework, and I don't have it on the slide. It should be on the agenda. I think you're supposed to find three PATs, is that right? create, borrow 3 PATs and use them by April 3rd. Be prepared to share with the group how it went. Alright, and so a lot of times with the homework we haven't gone over it because we're just moving on to the next thing and I'm trusting that you're doing it. I will check on this one. Okay? I will random call, I won't have sticks, I'll random call you to share out your